Kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song. I'm hung up in a grave situation.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another new episode of the Rotten Views podcast. Welcome to episode 258. It's crazy that we're getting so close to 300. Thank you for showing up for this episode. I appreciate you guys coming back each and every single week for the support. And if you're a new listener, thank you for checking out this episode. Thank you for checking out the podcast. Hopefully this episode will make you check out some of the back catalog. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back each and every single week. I think just this week alone, we've gotten additional 180 new listeners, so that's pretty crazy. I appreciate every single one of you guys, and hopefully you guys will hit that subscribe button if you're on Spotify, or the follow button, whatever it might be. If you're on Apple Podcasts, whatever podcast platform you're on, hopefully you hit the subscribe button if there is one, or a rating button, whatever it might be. And hopefully you come back each and every single week for a new episode. I tried to do a little bit of a slower intro, not hyping up the energy too much. We do have a lot of energy because we're doing this episode early in the morning, and I'm pretty freaking happy about that because I got all day afterwards to work on even more content, which I'm definitely looking forward to doing. But as the title states, you guys are here to listen to me talk about Enemy Territory from 1987. This is a first time watch for me. I've never actually seen this movie at all. I didn't know about this movie until I randomly saw it on YouTube, the trailer. And then I found out the full movie is on YouTube. So if you want to watch the movie, feel free to go check it out on YouTube. It's an hour and 26 minutes almost. So I think it's probably going to be a good one because it's got my boy Tony Todd in it. And if you know me at all, he's one of my favorite actors. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one. How I never even knew about it though is mind-boggling and shocking, but I guess it is what it is. But before we do get too far in the podcast episode at hand, let's do a little bit of housekeeping like we like to do each and every single week.
Housekeeping?
Don't think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towel?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
As always, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, if you could just give a rating and a review on the podcast, that would be highly appreciated. I know it only takes a few seconds out of your day. Even just, an easy thing being like, I like this episode, I like this podcast, whatever it might be. If you want to do a negative one, I understand. I will only put a voodoo curse on you, but that's besides the point. But yeah, if you are on Spotify, if you can give it a 5-star review or whatever star review you want. Like I said, if you want to do 1 star, that's okay. I feel like that's a little bit negative to do when we're trying to have a nice, good summer here. But if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But besides the point, I'm just trying to make jokes there. If you could just hit that share button on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, that does help out immensely. So just hitting that share button only takes a few seconds. Share it on your Threads, your X account, your TikTok account, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want. Just hitting that share button does help out the podcast a lot. And as always, if you want to keep in touch with everything I'm doing, keep up to date, all the content that I'm doing throughout the week, make sure to check out all my links down below. You can find me on all social media accounts at Typhonstein. We also have the Rotten Views podcast profile on Instagram as well, so definitely go check that out, where I post my On This Day in Horror History. I know I used to do that segment like the first probably only the 10 episodes of this podcast because I felt like the runtime started to get too long. So you can find all written up posts on the Instagram page for that, as well as Facebook and my Facebook page, as well as the YouTube channel, which I'm going to talk about right now. If you guys didn't know, I also run a weekly YouTube channel where we drop a new gaming video every single Wednesday. I do live streams over there. I do community posts, like I said, with the On This Day in Horror. I do a bunch of daily shorts for the most part, where I post my daughter's lunchbox surprise drawings I do for her, or other little artwork pieces. I also make sure to drop old episodes of the podcast every single Monday over there as well. And I do live streams. So if you want to keep in touch, you want to check out some live streams, some Fortnite, some wrestling, whatever the game might be that I decide to play, because I like to be a variety streamer. I don't like to stick to the same game over and over constantly. I like to switch it up a little bit. So if you want to check out any of that stuff, it's just at Typhonside. Just all the links are down below in the description. Pretty easy to find. I don't think anyone else has a username like mine, so shouldn't be too hard to find. And as always, the last thing that I'm going to promote, the CWC page on Instagram as well as Facebook. The links are down below. But that's the Canadian Wrestling Championship. It's a promotion that I am working on with a friend of mine. We have the weekly wrestling content that we're posting, and we're going to be doing hopefully our first show in October. That's the game plan. Just been a few roadblocks coming up every single week. Seems to be something new, but hey, it is what it is. Nothing's ever easy. Nothing that's worth doing is ever easy, at least. So it's a fun journey, and it's something else to add to the no sleep schedule, because that's how we are around here. We live off of coffee now and Ghost Energy. So that's not a sponsor, but if Ghost Energy wants to sponsor me, I would definitely highly recommend them. They make some good protein powders and some good shit. So go check them out. That's just a free plug, okay? But I think I've done enough rambling about that, because you guys aren't here to listen to me talk about that kind of crap. You're here to listen to me talk about this movie. Like I said, we are watching today Enemy Territory from 1987. This movie has a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 3.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 96% of Google users have liked this movie. It initially came out on May 22nd, 1987. Has a runtime of an hour and 29 minutes, it says on Google, but the YouTube upload is an hour 25 and change. So I'm not sure where the extra couple minutes went. I'm not going to look into it. So if you guys know what scenes are deleted or what segments deleted, let me know down in the comments below. Also, this is an Empire Pictures. So for people that don't know about that, that's like another side project. I think this came before Full Moon. So this is a Charles Band promotion, and of course Charles Band is known for doing like all the Puppet Master movies and a bunch of other movies that we've done on the podcast that are all blanking my memory right now. But Puppet Master is like his main bread and butter, and like the Evil Bong, and he makes bad horror movies that are like direct to DVD, direct to VHS at one point in time, that kind of movie. And I enjoy those kind of movies, I'm not gonna lie. The description as read on IMDb for this one: an insurance salesman inadvertently gets trapped after dark in an apartment building that is terrorized by a street gang called the Vampires. The director for this one is Peter Manugunian. I probably butchered that last name because I'm good at that. Hopefully I didn't, but most likely I did. Which I didn't realize, at least I think I've talked about a couple of these movies. But he was the director for 1989's Arena. I don't know if I did that for the podcast or if I just watched that for myself. I'm going to have to backtrack and look for the catalog, because if I haven't done that for the podcast, that one's going on the podcast because that was fun. He was, Arena came out in 1989. I just blanked. I don't know if I said the year. But he was the production manager in 1981 for The Howling. He was the director for 1984's Rage War, as well as the director for 1986's The Eliminators. I think I've watched Eliminators 2, but I haven't watched the first one. That's bad on me, but I found it one day on Tubi or YouTube, and I just decided to watch it. So now that I'm thinking about it, I might be thinking about The Exterminators 2. I don't know on that one, actually, to be honest with you guys. But then this movie also has two writers credited to it, and the first one that we're going to talk about is Stuart Kaminsky. He was the writer for this, of course, in 1987. He was the writer in 1984 for Once Upon a Time in America. He was also the writer for 1993's Hidden Fears. And the other writer for this one was Bobby Liddell, and apparently he's only done this movie and nothing else, so... But I think like Full Moon and Empire and those companies like that, they had a bunch of writers and stuff that were kind of just like one-off. They did one movie and then they're like, not really for me, I guess. So now we're going to talk about a couple of the cast members. The first one we're going to talk about is Barry, who's played by Gary Frank. Didn't know this. He was in 86 episodes from 1976 to 1980 of a TV show called Family. He was in 3 episodes from 1983 to 1986. My bad. Remington Steele. I've heard that TV show. I've never actually watched it. He was in 2 episodes of Hill Street Blues. Heard of that cop show as well. Never actually watched any of it. He's done a lot of TV shows where he's in like an episode and then he just leaves. In 1994, he was in an episode of LA Law. He was in Picket Fences. He was in the Batman animated series. So it seems like he just did like one-off roles. Maybe he was cast more likely as a TV show person and you want to branch out from there. I'm not really too sure on that. Also, we have the character Will, who's played by Ray Parker Jr. And of course, everyone knows him from Ghostbusters. Well, he does the Ghostbusters song. He was also in 2016, he played himself in Hired Gun. I don't know anything about that movie at all. But, you know, his main credit for everything is going to be the Ghostbusters theme and soundtrack. So, and of course, the last actor that we're going to talk about, the one we can't avoid, the one that I like the most, we're going to talk about Tony Todd. In 1992, he was Candyman. In 1996, he was Captain Darwell in The Rock, which I don't really care for that movie, to be honest with you, so I'm not really too sure why I mentioned it, but I felt like mentioning it anyways. He's got a bunch of movies that are still, I think, to come out this year, or maybe they've already came out. I know he was in the last Final Destination Bloodlines. Of course, obviously, he has since passed on. I believe he had stomach cancer, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. He was in the last Indiana Jones in the Great Circle video game where he played Locust. I keep forgetting in 2023 in Marvel Spider-Man 2 the video game he was the voice of Venom. In 1997 he was Johnny Valentine in Wishmaster. He's got a bunch of different Star Trek related roles where he's Kern, the voice in Star Trek The Next Generation, Klingon Honor Guard. It's a video game. He's done a lot of video game related stuff, which is awesome because he's just got one of those iconic voices. He was in an episode of X-Files as Augustus Cole in 1994. Of course, we got mentioned in the 1990 version of Night of the Living Dead. He played the character Ben. The list goes on, and sadly he is no longer with us, but at least he's left a long catalog of very good movies, and there's of course bad movies in there, but there's a lot of good ones, and even the bad ones are pretty good too. So maybe I'm a little bit biased on that, but it is my personal opinion because this is my podcast. The tagline for this movie is, when you're entering enemy territory, you're entering a war zone. And apparently, for some IMDb trivia, apparently, according to Ray Parker Jr., he had a good time while filming this film. That's some good trivia for you, I guess. Knowledge for your brain. It's kind of pointless, but it is what it is. With that being said, if you guys don't want to be spoiled on this movie, because I'm going to be talking about it from start to finish, like I do with every podcast episode. So if you're a new listener, what I like to do is I talk about the movie from start to finish, tell the points in between that interest me. So this is going to be a spoiler-heavy episode. But then again, this movie also did come out from 1987, and I wasn't even born yet. So if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1987, feel free to go watch it for free on YouTube now, or just sit back, relax, listen to me talk about the movie, and we'll have a good time. And either it'll make you want to watch the movie yourself, or you'll be okay with just skipping it. I leave that judgment call up to you at the end of this podcast. So let's get ready to start the episode. If you're at home, hopefully you're comfy and relaxed. Hopefully the heat's not getting to you. If you're at work, hopefully the heat's not getting to you either there. Hopefully it's nice and AC. Hopefully this helps you get through the day. And I know most of you guys listen in the car, on your way to work, home, wherever it might be. So hopefully you just keep your eyes on the road. Hopefully this makes your travels a little bit more enjoyable. And we're going to get started on the podcast episode right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
on Friday night, Barry Rapchick, the insurance agent, had one last appointment to make in the South Bronx.
Do you know which apartment Elva Briggs is in?
Don't touch me, Mike. I've had a very long day, and I have neither the time nor the patience for any more of you kids playing Scarface with me.
All he had to do was get the papers signed.
I'm sorry, I can't take cash.
If I signed, I've got the payment.
Well, it's all right.
Collect the premium. And get out alive.
Look, this is crazy.
The vampires? The vampires do this?
They're trapped in enemy territory, and the vampires want the money. and their blood.
You go through this floor, room by room, closet by closet.
There's a war going on out there, man. And this time I'm not going down.
We want the ghost and the blood traitor.
Gary Frank, Ray Parker Jr., and Jan Michael Vincent are caught behind the lines in enemy territory.
And of course, this movie is also, it's an Empire Pictures Presents film, but it's also MGM, which is pretty cool. You know, you gotta love that classic lion at the beginning of it. But the movie starts out and we just see the city, we hear a couple sirens, you know, the music slowly starts to play with this piano sound. It doesn't sound like it's great piano sound by any means, but it's kind of setting up this theme for the movie. And then we see all this graffiti, we see like old school newspaper stands and so much graffiti, and you know, the city's alive. It doesn't look like it's alive in a good way, but then we see this guy who's spray painting the side of the wall, and it's just enemy territory, and then that font comes off the wall, which is pretty cool. I like that. I actually enjoyed that that shot. But then like the funky, you know, late 80s music starts to play, and you know, it's like a rap hip hop style music, and it definitely feels good for this style movie. We see them moving through the city as the intro credits keep rolling, and it's, you know, I think it's New York by the looks of it, but I'm not 100% sure. It could be LA. We haven't actually been given a location yet, but we also see executive producer Charles Band. And then we see Barry sitting in his little insurance salesman office. Like, this office is super small. He's talking to this lady Carol on the phone, who apparently is hunting him down for some money. He's like, yeah, you want to put me in the jail? Fine, I could use a break. I've had a bad month. Actually, I've had a freaking horrible year, to be honest with you. And we find out that Carol is his ex-wife, because near then he's like, so how's the kids, Carol? You know, did Billy win his playoff game? How's he doing, Carol? How's my kid doing? After he hangs up the phone, he just opens up his little drawer on his dresser and he starts pouring out some Jack Daniels and a little paper cup, being like, man, that Carol's a real bitch. Anyways, the way this office is set up is definitely, it gives you like small New York City office, because like there's bars on the windows behind, and then the secretary knocks on the door being like, you know, what's his face been trying to get hold of you? He's like, yeah, so I'm busy. I'm smoking here. Can't you see I got like 15 cigarettes in the ashtray? So then Barry's sitting down with his boss, Mr. Beckhorn, and Beckhorn's like, you know, I don't know what's going on, Barry. You used to be the best closer that we had, and now you're falling off the ledge. He's like, come on, let me talk to you, Mr. Beckhorn. You know, so what? I'm having a little bit of a dry spell. You know, things are gonna work out. You know, it's only been like a year of a dry spell. Don't worry, I'll get my groove back. So then Mr. Beckhorn's like, Barry, I like you. I'm going to do you a favor. Look at this paperwork. And it's like $100,000 deal, and it's this old 70-year-old lady who used to be a school teacher, and he's all excited and happy about it. And he's like, oh, by the way, it's in the hood. So Barry's like, all right, Mr. Beckhorn, I got you. I'll get it done. He's like, well, it's getting kind of late now. I'll do it first thing Monday morning, though. Beckhorn's like, no, you'll do it today, or you're kind of out of a job. He's like, all right, I guess I'll go do it right now. I'll go close the deal. And then we're meeting up with Will Ray Parker Jr., who's driving some kind of van. I'm not sure what the van is. And anyways, the guy driving with him is like, are you really want to go do this job by yourself? He's like, yeah, man, I don't need to put on no bulletproof vest to go in no hood. And he's like, fine, you want to do this job by yourself? You go do it by yourself, man. And they're going to the tower, which I assume is like the hood ghetto spot that Barry's going to be going to. And Will's like, oh, okay, well, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to the tower because, you know, I got this lady that I can go visit. And I figured, might as well do it on company time. Get a little bit of action, get a little bit of money on the side, you know. Then we see these two little kids walking down like this back alleyway, and the older kid's like, man, if they catch you in the wrong time, they're gonna beat your ass. And he's like, nah, ain't nobody gonna catch me. I know stuff other kids don't know about. And then we see them hop on the fence, and as they're hopping the fence, they're walking by Will's van. So this is when we first hear the talk about the vampires gang, because the older kid's like, hey, if the vampires tell you to stay, you stay. And then the little kid's like, I ain't worried about no sissy ass little vampire gang. And then as they're walking into the tower, we then see Barry pulling up to said tower. Then, as Barry gets out of the car, three, like, teenager boys come over to him and be like, what are you doing here? What are you doing at the Lincoln Towers? You're gonna have to pay up if you're gonna be stepping in our property. Like, these kids look like they're like 10 to maybe 15, maybe 16 to one. So Barry pays the kids off, and then one of the kids is like, hey, don't be caught in there after dark or the vampires are going to have your blood. And he's like, well, what's going to happen? And the kids are like, are you kidding him, man? So then Barry just walks away. So then Barry walks into the lobby of the tower. I almost said vampire, because there's giant vampires spray painted graffiti all over the side. So then Barry goes to look at like the mailboxes where all the names are, and he can't read anything because there's spray paint over everything. So then Barry goes over to talk to a kid who's talking to a girl, be like, hey, do you know where this lady is? Something Briggs? He goes over to talk to a kid, and the kid gets all pissed at him, and Barry's like, you know what? I don't have the time or the patience for any more of you kids playing Scarface with me right now. So then the guy pulls out these brass knuckles that also have a knife on them. And then this guy called Soul Man comes out, who's a security officer, and he's like, hey, vacate now. And the kid's like, oh, man, Soul Man, it's getting dark soon. You know what happens when it gets dark soon? And we find out, I'm pretty sure as the kid's leaving, he's got like a vampire plaque on the back of his vest. So then Barry's like, well, thanks. So you must be one of the security people around here, eh, Soul Man? And he's like, I am the security. And what the hell are you doing here? And Barry's like, I got an insurance policy for this Briggs lady to sign. And Soul Man's like, are you from like Neptune or Vulcan or something? Like, what are you doing here? It's almost nighttime. What are you doing here? So then Soul Man and Barry get in the elevator together to go up to Bridges' apartment. And Barry's like, look. Elevator's in no rush, apparently, huh? And Soul Man's like, you should just be happy that it's working. The other one doesn't even work at all. He's like, don't you read the papers at all? Don't you look at the TV at all? Like, what are you doing here? And Barry's like, I should tell insurance. He's like, the window cleaners come here wearing bulletproof vests because they're scared of the area. So then Barry's like, so are you just trying to scare all the white people that come around here? Then Soul Man's like, white, black, brown, alien, whatever you might be, I'm just trying to warn you. And then Soul Man starts talking about the other gangs around the area. And he's like, yeah, the vampires own this area. And then the white people, they're called the pig stickers, and they own the other area over there. So they get off at the 8th floor, and then Soul Man's like, her apartment's right down there, 2016. I'm going to wait for you so we can ride down together. Just hurry the hell up, and don't take forever, though, please. So Barry knocks on her door. She goes to her door. She's got 2 padlocks and 2 deadbolts on. Be like, who's there? And he's like, Barry, insurance. She's like, all right, I guess you can come in, salesman. So Barry comes right in and sits right down at her table. And she's like, well, you must need the commission really badly if you're coming into Lincoln Towers at night. He's like, yeah, just sign right here, please. So then Barry's like, so why do you want this high of insurance policy, like with the rates and everything? A lady your age is not going to be able to pay it. She's like, well, to be honest with you, I'm buying out my I think she said either daughter or granddaughter who lives down below, and she doesn't want her living in this area at all, because of course it's not good for the area. And then he's like, so why do you live in this area? She's like, well, most people around here don't have a man to help pay the bills, so we're just making do with what we got, I guess that just shows like a time period where like the man would go and make all the money, and I guess the women would stay home and do the whole housework crap. Anyways, she goes over to the fridge and gets a wad of cash. He's like, I can't accept cash. And she's like, well, I got the payment, I already signed the paperwork. Do you want somebody to come get it tomorrow then? And he's like, no, it's fine, I'll just take it, and puts it in his suitcase. And she's like, are you not even gonna count the money? He's like, nah, you got an honest face, it's fine. Here, just sign the stuff so I can get her, please. So then she's like, well, you better hurry up and get out of here. And as he's leaving, he's like, I hope your granddaughter has a long wait for the insurance. She's like, well, thanks, but you never know around here. Could die tomorrow. Could die here in the next couple minutes. Could get shot. You never know. So then as he's leaving the apartment, Soul Man's like, come on, insurance man, let's move it. We got to get out of here. So then as they go to the elevator is coming back up. And once the elevator opens up, we see Tony Todd and his group, a couple of group members inside the elevator, and Tony Todd's character is the Count, and he's like, I just want a question or a little bit of conversation with the ghost. Apparently he put his hand on my blood brother. And Barry's like, I just poked him to ask for a question for help. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. And the Count's like, it's gonna take some blood to make it up for it then, chump. So then the Count's like, I'm going to take some blood for the vampire's honor. So then he pulls out a knife. So then Soul Man pulls out a gun. He's like, I don't care about your pig tit honor at all, vampires. I'm going to paint this elevator red if you don't step off. So then a little bit of commotion happens. Soul Man shoots his gun. It actually hits the kid in the elevator. So then the Count lunges at him and stabs Soul Man in the stomach. But then he gets pushed. The Count gets pushed back in the elevator, and the elevator starts to go down. And of course, we got Barry yelling for help because, you know, Soul Man's leaning up against the wall, bleeding out. And I think he might be dead. But anyways, then Will comes out of the apartment being like, the vampires do this? And Barry's like, yeah. And he's like, well, are the vampires after you too? He's like, well, yeah. All right, well, we got to get going. So Will came out of the friend with benefits apartment, and he's trying to get back in. He's banging on the door. He doesn't have shoes on. He's like, come on, Dee Dee, let me back in before we die out here. She's like, why you think I'm not opening the door? I ain't letting you back in. He's like, come on, at least let me have my shoes then, please. So then the music starts picking up. Dee Dee won't let them back in, or won't let Will back in. So he's like, we gotta get out of this hallway before the vampires start coming out. So Will shoots out the stairwell because there's a vampire trying to come out of it. So then they casually make their way back to Mrs. Briggs' apartment, and like Barry's just like slowly walking, and like Will's like, come on, we gotta go, come on, we gotta go. So then they knock on Mrs. Briggs' door, and she lets them in, being like, that gun ain't gonna help you much, and I don't have a phone to call the cops. And Will's like, why did you let us in then? She's like, well, I'm a Christian, what do you expect? Why are you helping him? He's like, well, I'm stupid, I guess. So then, like, Will's looking around the apartment and being like, you got a gun in here somewhere, Mrs. Briggs? She's like, do you really picture me being someone who would shoot somebody? He's like, well, maybe. You kind of live here, so why not? So then the Count and his buddies start banging on the door, and they're loaded with shotguns, so they could just shoot the door open. And he's like, how about you let the ghost come out so the old lady doesn't get hurt? I know the ghost doesn't care, but you, brother, you should care about the old lady so she doesn't get hurt. And Will pretty much tells him to F off. And he's like, you know, by sunrise, this come from the Count. You guys are gonna be all dead if you don't come out. So Will's like, maybe we can get to the roof if they haven't made it there already. And Miss Briggs like, why would you go to the roof? The roof's flat. There's nowhere to hide. A firefighter got shot from the roof last summer just by trying to, do something nice. So Will's looking around at the apartment, and Barry's like, we can stay in this apartment, we can barricade the apartment, we'll be fine. Will's like, nah, we're gonna go out this window, so you better loose the briefcase, tuck in the knife, and let's get out the window. So Mrs. Barry's like, you gotta go find my granddaughter. If you find her down there, she's smart. She'll know what to do. She'll know what to do to help you. And Barry's like, I don't want to leave because what if they come in, they hurt you? And she's like, no, I'll be fine. I don't want the insurance policy to pay out just yet, so everything will be okay. And then we cut to the Count, and there's this like ceremony going on because that little kid in the elevator is dead. It looks like he might have got shot in the face, to be honest with you. And he's doing like this little ritual to like pump up the vampires to go kill Barry and Will. So then the Count's like, for our honor, the ghost and the blood traitor must die for our honor. You just hear all the guys being like, kill, 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 come on, let's kill, kill. So then we see Barry and Will looking out the window, and Barry's laughing. He's like, Will's like, what's so funny? He's like, I'm just afraid of heights. And Will's like, well, what's so funny about that? He's like, I got $6,000 in my pocket for an insurance policy claim. I thought my life was going to get better after tonight, and now I'm going to hang outside a window 20 stories up by a freaking bedsheet. So we see them swinging down this bedsheet rope, and Barry breaks through this window, and there's two little black kids sitting on the bed, and he's like cleaning off the glass all over his jacket, and the kids are like, are you gonna R-word us? He's like, what? No, where's your parents? And then Will shows up, he's like, give me a bill. And Barry's like, what do you mean? Money, give me some money. So he gives Will the money, and Will gives it to the kids, and Will's like, honey, when your mom comes home, make sure to tell her that Santa came early. That's why the window's broken. And he's sorry about the window. So then they go to leave, and the kids are like, we ain't gonna tell mom shit. We're keeping the money for ourselves. So Will and Barry make it down to where the granddaughter's apartment is, and Will's banging on the door, and the old guy answers the door, being like, what's going on? Bridge sent us. The old man's like, don't you hear all the gunshots? He's like, yeah, the vampires are after us. Let us in, please. So then the vampires break into Mrs. Briggs' apartment, and the guys are searching the apartment, and then they tell the Count that nobody's there. So then the Count's like, Briggs, old lady, bitch, where are they? She's like, oh, who are you talking about? He's like, the white meat and the blood trader. You don't want to die, right? Where did they go? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So then the accountant's like, you go floor by floor. You go through every room, every closet, and if they don't let you in, you break down the door. You cut them, you burn them, you do whatever you do. You start at this floor and move every single floor down. So then the count has another group of guys start at the first floor and work their way up doing the same thing because he's like, I want to flush these goddamn cockroaches out. And then the last guy left with the count is this guy named Psycho. And he's like, Psycho, go warm up your blade. Let's see what the old lady actually knows where the white meat's gone to. So then we see Will getting a pair of shoes from the old man, and we find out that the grandkid is also the boy that we saw walking in at the beginning of the movie as well, wearing the other little kid. Their little kid was Chet, being like, Chet knows a way out. Anyways, the granddaughter's like, we gotta get you guys out here. They're gonna be searching for you in every single place. And then we find out there's one person in the apartment complex, apparently, that even the vampires are scared of because this guy will shoot them on sight, apparently. So then the younger boy's like, remember Chet? Chet knows their way out. And then the grandpa's like, no, you hush your face. Hush your face. So then we see Will, Barry, and Tony making their way through the stairwell because Tony is the granddaughter, and they're hiding behind this other door because they hear one of the vampires coming. So then they hide behind this door, and then Will's like, yeah, I think he's gone now, and he's got his head by the window, and then he's like, yeah, I can't see him anywhere. But then this hand goes through the window and starts grabbing Will, and then Barry actually takes the machete and kills the vampire guy, and then he starts freaking out, being like, what just happened? So then Will starts like slapping some sense into Barry, being like, what's your name? Tell me your name. Just come on, let's relax. We're gonna exchange names. We're a little bit friends here. You know, everything's fine. You just need to calm down. You just need to relax. Stop being a bitch. So Barry actually killed the guy with the knife that he had sealed on him from Bridges' apartment. And then Will takes the knife out of the guy's back. And Barry's still freaking out about it. He's like, what's the matter, blood? He's like, all right, well, give me your jacket because I ain't going to wipe the blood off on my clothes or his clothes. So give me your jacket so we can wipe it off on your jacket. So Will goes to give Barry back the knife. He's like, so between me and you, I think you made the right choice because it was between me and him. And if he would have killed me, you probably would have been next, to be honest with you. So take the knife, tuck it back in your belt, and let's get going again. So we see them showing up to Mr. Parker's apartment, and he pretty much tells them F off. He's like, come on, we need some help. You know, these guys, they had the vampires after them. Can you please, you're the only person, Mr. Parker, that the vampires are actually afraid of. And he's like, oh, really? And pokes a shotgun of this, like, peephole on his gut. On his door. Like, he's got like this little tray that opens up and the gun just pokes out. So Mr. Parker's a little bit paranoid because he's like, you guys are probably one of them. If I let you in, your buddies are gonna come in. And Will's like, come on, I'll pay you. Come on, just let us in. He's like, all right, pay me $500 if you want me to let you in. And Barry's like, all right, come on, I'll give you the money. Just let us in, please. So he lets him in, and his apartment is completely different than everyone. It's like a war-related area. Like, there's giant padlocks all over the place. There's giant security lights that are just facing at them. And Tony's like, you guys are going to be safe here. And Parker's like, where do you think you're going? She's like, I'm just going to go check on my grandma. That's all. I'm just going to go check on her. He's like, if you bring back any trouble at all, you're in for it, lady. So then we get a little bit closer to Parker, and we find out he's in a motorized scooter. And he's like, if you thought the vampires are bad to fuck with, don't fuck with me. And he's got like a remote control gun on the side of his wheelchair as well. So Tony's trying to get back to her grandmother's apartment, and she's looking down another alleyway or hallway, and we just see the vampires just beating the crap out of random people that are getting pulled out of their apartments, and just chaos ensuing everywhere. So she makes it to her grandmother's apartment, and we see grandma's not doing so well. She rushes over to see how grandma's doing, and then the count walks out, and he's like, oh, how touching it is that you came to check on your grandmother. And I want to know now where the traitor and the ghost brother are. And I want to know now. So then the grandma's like, don't tell me anything. So she is still alive. So the count's like, so you're either going to talk and tell me where they are, or we're going to have a little bit of vampire party. We're going to explore all the holes on your body. And then we're going to make some new holes and explore those ones too. So then she's like, all right, I'll talk. I'll spill the beans. And then we cut back to them sitting in Parker's apartment. where we see Parker questioning Will, being like, I thought you'd be smarter than trying to help this white boy's ass. Maybe you are smarter. Maybe you're trying to make a lot of cash off this boy. And Will's like, you know, I don't care what color anybody is. If somebody needs help, I'm going to help them. Then we find out, like, Will and Parker kind of bond a little bit. They were both non-vets. And Parker's like, I don't want to be too whiny, you know. Uncle Sam gave me a good pension and, you know, this handy looking go-kart, but, you know, you got all these yuppies and Volvos out there, and, you know, it doesn't make sense. So Will's getting tired of Parker, you know, giving Barry such a hard time. He's like, what are you doing, man? You're no different than anyone else. You're just a rat in a fancier cage. And he's like, nah, this ain't no cage. This is a bunker. We find out that Parker's really paranoid because he's like, you know, this is just a bunker. And, you know, I got that bird over there because in case they start putting gas in the building, the bird's going to die first. You know, I got this cat over here. That way I know my food's not poisoned. But, you know, I got to kill the cat every now and then and get a new one because they put bugs to sneak on people and cats. And I can't have that kind of shit. So then the vampires show up at Parker's apartment, and he's telling them to go away. He's pointing the gun outside the people. He's like, Squid Lips, you better get the hell away unless you want to get your face blasted in. And the count's like, nah, guess what? I caught these two bitches, and they're going to die if you don't let out the ghosts and the blood brother. So then they start to do a trade for the guys, for the girls. And, of course, Parker wants the girls to come in first, so the guys leave then. And the count's like, nah, you bring the guys out. And guess what? We're going to keep the women too because the deal goes sideways. So then Parker comes out with a wheelchair and he stands up and just starts blasting at everyone. So everyone has to go scatter. At least it looked like he was standing up at one point. I guess it's just the camera angle. You can't really see the wheelchair back because of how fast he's moving, I guess. But anyways, this allows them to have enough time for Will, Barry, and Tony to escape. I guess maybe Grandma got shot? I don't know what happened to Grandma. Alright, so Parker's like shooting all these vampires. A couple of them are dropping dead. And then Parker gets shot in the chest and starts to wheel back into his apartment. And then we see Grandma's actually standing beside him. So she's not dead yet. So then the three of them burst into another apartment. And of course, it sounds like it's a guy with a hooker. Maybe? I'm not too sure. She's like, oh, I was already busted once this week. I don't need to be busted again. And the guy's like, oh, great. My wife's going to find out about it. And Will's like, would you guys shut up and calm down? We're not the cops. Well, what's all the gunshots happening about? It's the vampires. They're after us. Would you just shut up, please? So then the granddaughter, Tony's like, all right, let's go. LB keeps saying about Chet having a secret way out. You know, I know Chet and his grandmother live downstairs. So let's make our way down there to see if we can actually find a way out of here. So they get to the Lee's apartment and they're asking Bridges, how well do you know this lady? She's like, oh, I don't know her well at all, to be honest with you. And with all the commotion, they're probably not going to let us in. So Barry's like, let's be direct about it. And he knocks on the door. He's like, hey, phone company here. Yeah, your phone's out, right? And she's like, oh, yeah, but it's kind of late to be doing a service call, isn't it? He's like, well, do you want your phone fixed or not, lady? She's like, all right, well, slip your ID underneath the door. So Barry slips Will's ID underneath the door. She's like, picture's black, but you sound like a white guy. He's like, well, I went to a fancy school. What do you want from me? And they finally let them in. And she's like all scared because Barry is coming in. Will's coming in. Bridges is coming in. Will's got a gun in his hand. And they're like, hey, Chet, need to know where the secret exit is out of here so we don't die, please. And apparently the secret exit out is in the basement. And he's like, yeah, down with the rats and the spiders and all the cobwebs. And it's a secret exit way. And I'm the only one that knows about it. So we see Bridges, Grandma Bridges, in Parker's apartment. And he's dying in his wheelchair. He's like, don't worry about your granddaughter. She's a survivor. I know she'll die. Or survive. Also, here, take my AK as I'm dying. Grandma, you'll survive too. So we see Barry, Will, and Tony sitting around the kitchen table as Chet is trying to draw them in crayons the way to exit. And Tony's like, I don't understand this at all. And Chet's like, how do you not understand this? You know, it's basic. Let's look at the map. So then they ask if Chet can go with them to show them how to get out. And she's like, you gotta be crazy if you think I'm gonna let my baby go out there. He's like, I'm almost 10, Mom. Come on. So Barry's like, Mama, you know, I got like $300 here. We really need Chet. How about $400? And she's like, I don't know where you've been, mister, but $400 can't buy a black boy anymore. He's like, I didn't mean it like that. I just need help to get out here so I don't die. You can have him back afterwards. I don't want him. So then Will's like, you know what? You know, let's hope that the elevator is above us. And Barry's like, what do you mean the elevator? You know they got the elevator covered. He's like, we're not worried about having the elevator. We got the shaft. We're just going to take the shaft all the way down to the basement, boy. Also, while they're having this conversation, Chet's in his room making a stuffed like creation on his bed, so it looks like he's sleeping, and he sneaks out the front door, and they never even notice the door opening. So we see Barry and Will and Tony at the elevator, and Will's like taking off the security panel, and he's trying to hardwire it to open up the door, but not make the elevator come down. And I believe it's Psycho from the Vampires. We see him lurking around, and he appears, but then Chet comes out, hits him with the baseball bat that he took from his mom's apartment. Then I believe Tony shoots him, and then he stumbles and falls all the way down the elevator shaft that's open. So then the vampires go to Chet's mom's apartment, and she's like, nobody here but me and my baby boy. So then they break into the home, and for whatever reason, the vampire guy, they have goldfish on the living room table. Guy just looks at the goldfish, takes his gun, just smashes the tank, being like, you ain't getting no goldfish now. And then they go to Chet's room, and they find out Chet's missing. She's like, son of a bitch. So we see the Count talking to a couple of vampire members, and we find out it's 4 a.m. and he's pissed off now. So then the Count starts cutting into his own hand, being like, vampire blood does not go unavenged. Everyone in this apartment complex now has to bleed. We see them all coming down that elevator shaft, and that's when they all have to pass by the vampire body that's on the bottom, because he fell all the way down. It looks like he smashed his face into the concrete on the way down as well. We see them all in the basement now, and Will's just like, alright, Chet, show us the way out now, bud. Which way are we going? And then as they're slowly walking away, Psycho, the vampire that fell through the elevator shaft, he opens one eye. Then as they're crawling through this one space, it's Barry and Tony left. And then Psycho appears and starts attacking Tony. So then Barry has to fight him off. And then at some point in time, Psycho got like a blender and was going to try and blend Tony's face, apparently. And then Will shows back up and shoots Psycho again. So then Barry gets all pissed off. And I think he has Chet's bat and just literally starts smashing him. He's like, stay dead, you freaking freak. So then they crawl through this space where everyone's like crouched over because they're too damn tall, and Chet takes him to the spot, and he's like, look right there. And then Will's looking at it being like, we ain't gonna be able to do that, Chet. And Chet's like, come on guys, I'd get through it all the time. He's like, yeah, look at the size of you compared to the size of us. So then Tony's like, I can fit through there. And they're like, no, man, you can't just let you go up there by yourself. You know, she's like, don't worry, I'm just gonna be 15 minutes, it's gonna be fine. I'll get help, don't worry. So we see Tony escaping through the little crack hole, and she's like sneaking around trying to avoid the vampires as they're looking around outside. And she runs around this corner, and there's this homeless guy there. He's like, oh, come on, darling, let's have some fun. And she just starts booking it down the street. So then as she's running down the street, another group of gangs, I'm assuming Mexican gang, because one of the guys is called Jesus, starts chasing her down as well. So now she's got another issue, and literally one of them like jumps out of the alleyway at her, and she literally whips him off, and he hits like a hood of a car or something. So Tony makes it to the police station, and she's banging on the counter, being like, officer, please, come on, officer, come on. And he's on the phone, and he's like, I'll be with you in a couple minutes, okay? I'm on the phone, I have an important phone call, don't worry about it. I'm having a phone call, I'll get a hold of you, I'll get with you in a couple minutes. So then she has a crowbar still in her hand, so she tries to go around to a different spot. So then the officers start to arrest her. So then we see Tony finally sitting down with an officer. She's like, what else do I have to talk to you about? Like, and tell you, like, there's people being murdered there. He's like, miss, I understand, but last time we sent officers even there to look, they got shot and killed on point. So I don't know, we need a little bit more to go with, okay, miss? So then we see Barry and Will just in the basement being like, I wonder what's taking so long. And Will's like, I can think of probably 5,000 reasons why they just avoided us and left us here. And Barry's like, nah. No, they helped us for free before. I'm sure they're coming. And then we hear the elevator shaft start to go off, and Will starts to freak out. So Chet's also gone, and we see earlier Will's like, hey Barry, give me the rolls of money. This is our secondary plan, and the plan was to send Chet all the way upstairs, open up a window, and start throwing some money out to distract the soldiers outside, the vampires outside, and it's actually working, and that's what's happening. And we see the elevator come all the way down. The vampires notice that Psycho's dead down below. So then Will and Barry go to leave that room. And as they're leaving that room, Barry actually gets shot in the leg. But at least they're able to exit out the basement door that they wanted to exit out before, but there was two vampires out there, and the vampires are picking up the money. So then Will just comes out and blasts one of them, and the other guy's like, I don't want any problem at all. And now it's sunrise now, and now we see all the other vampires running outside, but they also notice that sunrise is up as well, so now they're starting to move slow. But we see Will and Barry running away, and of course, Barry's doing his best run hobble because, he's shot in the leg, and the Count and the other vampires start to chase after him, be like, police is probably going to come around now that the day daylight's up, but you know, we'll still chase after them. Barry and Will make it over to like the playground area of the apartment complex, and Barry drops to the ground being like, you kill that fucker over there at the Count, because the Count's like, you know what, I'm gonna handle these guys on my own. And Will's like, I only got one shot left, man, I gotta really make it last. So then we see the Count slowly walking over to them with a shotgun in hand. He's like, oh, you guys better pray because you're mine now. I've been chasing your candy ass all goddamn night. And he gets closer and closer, and then Will just pulls up the gun and shoots the Count, and then blood just starts pouring out of his mouth. He's like, I'm gonna rip out your heart and suck your blood. So then the Count just starts screaming that he's immortal, and Barry grabs the swing set and hits the Count in the face with the swing, and then Will tackles him and just knocks him to the ground, and we just see Tony Todd's character bleeding out on the ground. And then the vampire's like, all right, vampires, we gotta move forward. We gotta move forward because, you know, they took down our leader. And then an AR just pokes out a window and starts shooting at them, and the vampires start to, you know, retreat. And then they slowly make their way back to the Count, and then they start to retreat again. And of course, it's Grandma Briggs with the Parker's gun shooting at the vampires. Then as all the gun commotion is happening, we see Will and Barry finally making it over the playground fence, and we hear sirens coming in the background, and the police are finally showing up now that it's daytime. And Barry's sitting on a bench, and Will's like, you got some bad injuries there, buddy? He's like, I really hope not, man. I got some really horrible insurance. Then we see the cops and the ambulance show up, and they put Barry on the stretcher, and they start to roll him away, and Tony's checking on him. He's like, yeah. And then we just cut to like a sky view of the apartment complex with cop cars all over the place. The music starts to pick up, and the outro credits start to roll, and that's the end of this movie. And I gotta say, for a first time watch, I actually really enjoyed this one. I know, yes, it's got Tony Todd in it, so I'm a little bit biased, but Ray Parker Jr. in a movie was actually a lot of fun to watch. And Gary Frank, don't know really much about him, but I think he does a pretty good job being like a, not really a sleazy salesman, but nonetheless insurance salesman. And I just thought it was a fun movie all around in general, so definitely highly recommend watching this one. It's got a good pace to it. I wasn't bored at all, and I enjoyed it a lot. I would definitely watch it again. And on the Rotten scale out of 10, I'm giving this one a 9, because I actually did enjoy it a lot, and I'm glad I finally watched it. Definitely a fun one. Which brings us to a point in time where we got to pick what we're watching next week. Alright, so next week we're going to do another first time watch, but this time this one is from Tubi. You know how much we love Tubi over here, so of course I want to watch as many movies as I can find over there, because they have movies that you're never going to find anywhere else. Because this one is from 1988. It's a horror comedy. It's called Rabbit Grannies. Yeah, you read it right. Description as read on Tubi. Two little old ladies will have big inheritance in a greedy family, fall victim to an ancient curse that transforms them into cannibalistic killers. Like I said, this runs from 1988. Of course, it's an 80s movie because it just sounds wacky as all hell. And it's a horror comedy, and it only has a runtime of like an hour and 9 minutes, so I might just bust that one out quickly after editing this movie. We'll have to wait and see. So, hopefully you guys will check that one out next week. Like I said, if you haven't seen it before, go check it out on Tubi. And as always, if you want to, check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band, Blood Opera. Now that Spotify has changed a little bit, I can just link them right on the Spotify episode. But if not, check out all their links down below in the description. Find them on Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, wherever you want. And as always, make sure to check out all my links down below at @Typhonsign. You can find me on all social media accounts. But that main thing we want to push for is the Instagram, the Facebook page, and the YouTube channel. Definitely go check out the YouTube channel. We got the weekly game video dropping every single Wednesday. Old episodes of the podcast every single Monday. I do live streams over there as well, community posts, and we do a various amounts of shorts.
So definitely go check out all the artwork over there. We're getting so much closer to the 1,000 sub mark as well, which is pretty cool. And make sure to check out the Rotten Reviews Instagram page as well for the daily horror postings, as well as check out the CWC Canadian Wrestling Championship page on Instagram and Facebook as well for all your wrestling content. And I will talk to you guys all later. Peace.